Hi, I'm Ruth Poulsen, and this is my friend Jane Savoie, and she is riding my new horse, Rocky Lovato. And Rocky is made by a friend of ours called Frankie Lovato, and we are just in love with him for what we want to do, which is work on our positions. And Jane and I do a lot of teaching and a lot of clinics all over, and I can't stress enough that everybody, no matter whether you're a beginner or an advanced or a professional, we have to pick away at our positions all the time.
Every day.
Every day. And so I have begun to develop a little program for my students with Rocky, and I'm going to show you what I've been teaching my students so that if you want, you can use them for your students as well. And I've been finding a lot of interesting and great things about him, that a lot of my riders have some sense of fear factor, and they'll have a lot of tension in their body, and Rocky doesn't buck or spook, and he's a great keeper, very, very easy keeper. So I'm able to help my riders physically position them, and then they can relax and feel some of that muscle memory that you and I are working on with each other all the time. So I'm going to just give you a little seminar on what I usually do. So Jane's already gotten herself in the saddle, and the first thing that I'm going to look at, and you're going to look straight ahead, because I'm going to look at her core and her balance and whether she's sitting in the center of the saddle, both laterally side to side and longitudinally from front to back. And I'm going to look at some plumb lines. So the first thing that I noticed, Jane, is you're really good ear, shoulder, hip, but your heel is just a little bit forward of the plumb line. If we draw an imaginary line, we want to see this line so that your foot is under your center of balance. So that's pretty good there. And what you have to think about is keeping your knee down in order to keep your heel under your hip, okay? So everybody has two sides, right-handed and left-handed, so the next exercise I have everybody do is to take their hands out to the side. Try to be really parallel with your body. This arm is a little bit higher, yeah, and this is going to be telltale of where you're more flexible. Okay, so just really slowly turn around one side, and sort of take note of how hard it is to get to a certain point, and now come all the way back to the other side and see which way. That way looks harder to me. Yeah. Okay, so what that, and your leg moved, and all of this upper body movement tells you where you're flexible or you're not flexible in your pelvis. So what I want you to do again is go to your hard side. Don't try to change anything. Can you feel this seat bone raising up out of the saddle? Try and relax. That's right. Sit down and relax your pelvis so your seat bones are aiming at me. That's right, your hips, I should say. And now come back the other way. And when that's achieved correctly, this leg isn't going to move, okay? So do it wrong once again and let your leg slip back, because that's right. And see, that's a super normal problem everybody has, especially when you're traveling to the circle and they go to use their leg, they lose their stirrup, okay? So your goal is to keep your pelvis aimed straight forward at Rocky's ears. That's right, and then you keep equal weight in both stirrups. So it really helps you decide which way is more flexible, depending on where you're flexible in your pelvis. Yeah, good. Good. All right, so do you think that you're sitting straight over him in terms of feeling both seat bones? Can you feel both seat bones?
Yeah.
Okay, if you're not sure, and this is a big one that I have for my people, I have them drop their stirrups, and you can ride them bareback too. I just like to put people on their own saddle because then it feels familiar when they get on. Just take your legs away and let them drop down. And take them away and let them drop down. And a lot of my students say, God, that really stretches me right here and on the inside of the groin. And my mom, who you know has had a broken hip in the past, she gets cramps in her right hip.
I just got a cramp in my left hip. Makes sense.
Yeah, because your left side is tighter. So what my mom has been doing is a little bit of riding Rocky before she gets on her own horse. And she does some of these gentle stretching exercises and mobility exercises so that when she starts riding her horse reins, she doesn't get that cramp. Are you okay?
Yeah.
You can put your foot back in your stirrup. Yep.
Sense, because that was harder for me to turn in that direction. That was very revealing.
Very revealing, yep. Okay, so we're going to just start moving him a little bit without the reins. I'll tie them up so they don't get in the way. And he is a mechanical horse. He's not a mechanized horse. There's no motor. So however much he moves is because you're going to create the movement. All right, and somehow the way Frankie has made him, his head and neck moves with his body so that it simulates the movement of your horse. So go ahead and see if you can get him to move a little bit. That's right. And the more, right, this is very interesting because the same thing I did when I first got on him is I tried to move him with my shoulder a little bit, and you see that especially in walk and canter with people, they move their shoulder. So you want to keep your shoulder still and move him with your pelvis and your core. Right, that's perfect. Good. With a relaxed seat. That's right. Now I'm going to actually help you out a little bit back here. There you go. Okay, so you don't need strength. You need mobility and following to ride. There you go. Yeah, now I'm not helping, and now you see how it's much easier to keep him moving when your pelvis opens all the way. Really good. Really good. Okay, and you can feel that that is no easy task. No. You can get it right there and right in the center of your thigh.
Awesome.
All right, good. Okay, whoa, Rocky.
Ho!
All right, so now there's so many things I'm using him for, but I'm going to just give you the biggies that I see with my people. So go ahead and pick up the reins. So you know when we're teaching, we're always trying to find that receiving, elastic, consistent contact. And more often than not, with a lot of my students, I see a contact that's either too tight all the time and restrictive of the horse, or I see no contact where they think they're being light, but they actually have nothing. Or I see loose, tight, loose, tight, loose, tight. So go ahead and move him again with your pelvis, and I want you to try to think about out. Indy, I know your mommy's playing. Out, go, out. So I want you to think about just letting your arm go with his mouth, right, and lower your hand just a little bit so you have a straight line, elbow, mouth, bit, perfect. And now if you wouldn't mind sort of doing the loose tight so we can see that. Yeah, like that. You see that a lot in the canter. And then on the third beat of the canter, the horse's head gets pulled in. Yeah. All right? So now follow again so we can see that. Perfect. And then the other thing I see mostly in the walk and in the canter is that my riders are a little stiff in the elbow and they stiffen their hip. Go ahead and lock up a little bit. Oh. Yeah, you can't make it move because you're fighting yourself. Yeah. Well, that's what the horses feel. Yeah. So my riders, and I'm sure yours too, when I have a rider who can't keep their horse going, it's because they're trying to use more leg to overpower how much bridle they're using. So I like to even sometimes have them close their eyes and let their arms belong to Rocky's mouth. So there's no restriction, no inhibition. Yeah, really good. Really good. Okay, open up. Perfect. And ho, Rocky. Good. Cool. Really good. Yeah, it is
because
cool.
If you're not following like that, it's like trying to say go with the emergency brake on.
Exactly, exactly. And so the horses get as frustrated, you know, and even with upper level horses, and you have said it to me because my mare is so sensitive in the poll, on the third beat, make sure you give so she doesn't tuck her chin in on the third beat. Right. So beginner to advanced, I find it really, really helpful to think about keeping my elbows soft and unlocked and following the whole period of the stride. So those are just some basic pieces that I think you're welcome to do. He's very sensitive. He's as sensitive as we are.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So you're welcome, and
thanks, Rocky.
Enjoy.
Hi, Indy.